So, welcome back to what feels like the morning after the night before's Theatre of Dreams podcast. You've got Rod Maxwell here, Aaron Bo Carroll, and Harry Morrell as usual. We've never done one of these. It's a match reaction, going to be maybe, hopefully, a quick 30 minutes. I think it's more like therapy for me and Harry. But of course, last night, United were away in the EFL Cup. And well, what happened? They lost. Basically, they're playing Grimsby Town. Grimsby of the National, is it the League Two?
League Two. League Two. A
Yeah.
team that realistically Manchester United should be beating, even despite being in transition or only having new players. It's one of those things where you should be going out to the North Coast and actually having a drama-free night. That was all I asked for yesterday in the pod, but that's all we've had. We've just been battered and quite literally by Harry the Haddock. So it's everybody's loving it, apart from United fans, where
Well,
we clearly need a fish supper to sort of drown our sorrows a little bit.
I listened back to our podcast this morning on my dog walk because I wanted to check if I was overly confident and a little bit, overly cocky about the game. And the one thing we did say was we thought this game was the perfect opportunity for United to turn things around a little bit, right? And that was no disrespect to Grimsby, no disrespect to the tournament or anything else. And it's a natural reaction. You would expect it, right? Wouldn't you? And
Yeah,
when I looked at that starting lineup, and you look at the lineup, and with the exception of Frederiksen and Heaven, every other player was an established first team player.
yeah. When the lineup came out, I remember messaging you saying, "Yeah, we've got it right. We've got." I said that Mainu needed to be in the squad, especially with the transfer window coming to a close on Monday. Thought he looked okay. You could tell he's not played a lot of football. That's no discredit to him at all. It's just what happens when you haven't been playing competitive football. But he hasn't been used twice off the bench in United's opening two games. But I was not cocky, but sort of was saying it's come at the perfect time for United, sort of a distraction from the league, somewhere where we could maybe get a bit of momentum. But obviously, what it's done is it's given momentum for the jokes to start up against United, because realistically, it was a humiliation for United, and we had a good opportunity coming in at the second round. We're first time in a number of years we've come in at the second round, but like the last time we were in it, we got beaten by MK Dons in the second round, and this time it seems to be the Seasiders instead who have done the number on us. But I thought there's so many things to unpack in the game. It's what player selection, were the players right? Was it sort of underestimation of Grimsby, the Grim Reapers, as the Telegraph have called them? Because that's what it feels like. It feels as though they've left United out to dry pretty much, and it was grim watching, especially when the rain came down, and even if it had gone to extra time, because obviously with it being the second round of the cup, we would go straight to penalties. Even with extra time, I wouldn't have been feeling confident
See,
at all, really.
there was a moment in the game I was hoping for lightning strikes onto the pitch and for the game to be stopped. Honestly.
I saw a lot about that in terms of the weather. A lot of United fans on Twitter that I'm friends with have said, just call it off now. And this was when you were at 2-0 down, I think. They're just like, just stop it. Don't put us through it anymore.
Well,
Just stop.
let's go with the stats of the game just as a reminder, and then we'll get onto the reaction. So they went ahead in the first half, 2-0 up. Vernon on 22, Warren on 30. And you know what? You got to turn around and say that fair play to them. I mean, they had 30% possession overall, but and they had 10 shots versus our nearly 30. They had 4 on target, of which 2 they scored with. So we went in 2-0 down. And then he made changes, and Buemo came scored in the 75th minute, and then it took again a Harry Maguire header in the 89th minute to take us straight into pens, right? And then on the penalties, we had an advantage on the penalty. I forget who missed the penalty for us. Can you remember?
Mateus Cunha missed for you last night.
Yeah, and I thought Grimsby's penalties were excellent, really composed. I mean, their overall play was really, really good. So credit Grimsby. I mean, they played brilliantly. But with that lineup and with that experience, that firepower that we're supposed to have, etc., we should have not been in the situation of being 2-0 down at half time. Now, that they're the stats, they're the facts from the game. Let's talk about what went wrong, and because you could turn around and say, this is why we love football. Anything can happen, right? But the United season is going so badly that you sort of have to get deep into this and saying, there's something fundamentally wrong here. Fundamentally wrong.
There's something. Go on, Harry.
I just feel as though there's a lot of questions being raised about the manager, and I think both Rod and I are in agreement. The manager is not at fault here, but he got a lot wrong last night, but he also got a lot right as well. I think the initial decision to go with the weakened back line, I think that may have impacted us quite a bit because we haven't really got a big game coming up on Saturday. We've got Burnley. With all due respect to Burnley, that's not like it's a league game, so you want to go full strength. But we've got a international break the week after, so it's not like we've got a bumper round of fixtures. And I know that we've got the derby coming up, but that's fortnight away. So I was surprised that we sort of weakened that back line, especially we performed so well in the cup competition last year. That was the only thing that gave a lot of Manchester United fans sanity throughout the entirety of last season. But I think the one mistake that I think Amram did was he put an Andre Onana in goal, and it was a surprise, not because of what's been going on, but Bayern has always been the cup goalkeeper, and for that game, it was I was surprised certainly that Onana had been thrown into that position, because if you look at both goals, arguably the first one not so much. I'd probably say he was at fault as well or involved in it, but the second one was just it was down to Onana's mistake. And had we not gone 2-0 down, it wouldn't feel as though we were chasing to try and get ourselves back into the game, because once Amram made those changes at half time, the system worked, and it felt as though we were confident going forward. This is me saying this about going against the League Two side, and anyway, I can't believe we've gone from the Arsenal game where we lost but felt so confident, gone to the Fulham game where we'd given them a draw and it was frustrating because we could have won the game, to sort of feel like I'm bashing my head against a brick wall because of this clash on a rainy Tuesday night.
Well, I'm trying not to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, but if I look at this overall, I think one of the mistakes we're making is we're swapping the defensive pairings far too much. We're not getting any stability. There's no foundation in the team. That starts with a goalkeeper and includes the back three or the back four, however. So we're constantly rotating that defensive group. And I think, therefore, we're not getting any foundation in the squad. And they should be able to coordinate and play and work it out. But I think you do need a unit that plays together and makes it hard to beat. And we're easy to beat at the moment because whether it's a defensive lapse or certainly a goalkeeping lapse, we'll give you chances. And that has to be taken away. Yeah, and so he's got to get a defensive foundation that he plays over and over. And given that we don't have many games at the moment, you know what? Stuff trying to give younger players at the moment the time. Actually, let's just get ourselves solid at the back. And I'm not blaming Heaven, and I'm not blaming Fredrickson or Maguire. I'm just saying, the combination of that with Onana, and everything, all the emotion, all the noise around that doesn't help. That's the first thing for me.
As a manager who, I wouldn't say is under pressure, but that pressure is slowly starting to creep in. I know it's a League Two game. I know it's round 2 of the Cup, but you've got to be thinking, right, I've got just to take some of the pressure off going into an international break. I've got to sort of win this game and sort of divert attention away from this United squad, and also crucially get some stability in the dressing room and also on the pitch as well. It just feels like a missed opportunity for the manager to really, as we were saying, get some momentum into the team and just some optimism. I can understand rotating the front line, which we spent a lot of money on. It was great the fact that we actually a United player actually scored for United this season. That was the first time we've managed to do that, because both goals we've registered. The goal we'd registered previously had come from come as an own goal, and the only assist we received was from the goalkeeper. So it says a lot that they're not quite gelling just yet. So that was the one positive to take away. But it's just it's. I think he will struggle to come back from this. I watched the post match interview, and he was very quickly trying to dismiss it. I don't want to talk about it. It's happened, sort of thing. Which is fair enough. It's when, as we know, football, once that final whistle goes, you've got to move on to the next game. But at the same time, it's just applying yet more pressure onto the manager. And I think if we've seen anything, there really needs to be pressure added onto the bank account, and we need to get some last minute transfers done, because at the moment it's come at the perfect time, this humiliation, because it's shown where the issues are, and it's shown that yes, we're not United back of old. We're still United, very much struggling in trying to fit this new system, and maybe the system isn't quite working as Amrin had hoped it would by now.
Can I just add something on your manager really quick?
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned this off air, Rod, as well. When it went to penalties in that game, his body language was awful, the manager. He was sat in the dugout with his head down like he didn't want to be seen. What kind of message does that send to your players at the end of that game?
I'm glad you brought this up, Aaron, because it looked like he was hiding. It looked like he couldn't watch the game. It looked like, therefore, he didn't have any faith in his team to basically be able to take the penalties. Now, it might be he was looking at stats or whatever, but I didn't like it. I thought to myself, you should be right out there, and showing some confidence. He looked like he was hiding.
Yeah, if I may on that, I think if we didn't have the context of that game, we would just look past this as like a superstition thing. Like, I can't watch penalties. My dad couldn't watch the 99 last 5 minutes of the game, and yet we were still able to get the result. It's just people have different interpretations of penalties. I think it doesn't really help the fact that when it comes down to that sort of, it's a penalty shootout. It's sort of, obviously it takes skill to take a penalty, but realistically, it's just down to those players in front of you. He can already sort of feel that pressure, because he would have had pressure on his shoulders going into that game, knowing that as well. I think it's one thing we've noticed, and I hope it doesn't happen, is the media we're involved with this because we've been doing our podcasts, and we've been sort of doing this as well. We've been latching onto things and saying it means this, it means that, and it's been, obviously football's not just about the players on the pitch, it's all the noise around it as well. It's this sort of disruption that we've sort of been generating, that's not going to help things. So I can sort of, it's going to be a very difficult burden to bear, and he's struggling with that. I just feel as United fans, media, everything, we latch onto these things and sort of think, oh, we take it as gospel. And I'm hoping that we don't do what we've always done, which has been, right, clearly the system's not working. Clearly the manager's, he's had his games, right, let's try something new. And this is the cycle we keep going around. I'm just hoping that I'm not the owner of Manchester United, nor do I have billions of pounds in the bank account or billions of pounds in debt. But I'd sort of be thinking, right, this is your one chance. Pressure's going to be creeping in now. But just on what I've been reading, what I've been listening to, what I've been looking on social media, a lot of people are saying hammer him out, and I just think it's just we'd just be fools if anything changed from what a disappointing night on a Wednesday in a League Cup. Which realistically, if somebody went, would you rather get knocked out first round of the League Cup, but have a good FA Cup run, get back up in the second half, top half of the Premier League table? As you know, I would take that, but also I think I'm being very, very much glass half full rather than half empty at the moment. Maybe it's just something in the coffee this morning, or try not to book a therapy session. I'm not quite sure just yet.
Well, the BBC did a poll, and of course these polls are open to lots of different people, and said, what next for Armin at Manchester United? And they give three options. He's finished. It's a matter of time before change. He needs results quickly, or else he'll be fired, and he needs time, and we'll turn this around. Now, as I say, these polls are open to any fan, and anti-United fans will always pile in here, but 52% of people said it's finished. It's just a matter of time before a change. I actually went with he needs results quickly or else he'll be fired, and then 13% said yes, he needs time and we'll turn this around. What I don't understand is he seemed very inflexible. And I'm trying still to work out what he meant when he said at the end of the game, when asked at the end of the game, he said, when asked what went wrong, he said, everything. The way we started the game, we were not even here. When everything is so important in our club, everything that happened, it's a problem in our club. We should do as much better. I just have to say sorry to our fans. I felt my players spoke really loudly today what they want. They think it's easy for you. Let's focus on the next game, and then we have to the stop for the international game. We will think things through. So, two things about that. I don't know what he meant when he said, I felt the players spoke really loudly today and what they want.
Just to me, that kind of seems like he's saying that he knows which players want to play for the club and who's not bothered. Because I mean, you look at the performance last night. It didn't look like any of them wanted to be playing last night, and I think I think he's saying it shows that some players don't want to put stuff in.
I agree with that translation, but then I look at the team and I think, well, you brought in a lot of
Yeah.
these players, so and this is not the bomb squad players. It's not like you played a bunch of them. Because we've already got 5 players or 4 players who don't want to play for the team. So I felt really strange about that. And then when he said, we will think things through in the international break. Now, you could translate that anyway. He could think things through personally, or they'll look at the tactics, they'll look at the players. I hope it's the latter. But
with the international break, if I'm just able to interject a second, I think it's probably. I don't think any of Manchester. There's been a stat for a number of years that a Manchester United player is featured in the England squad since every England squad since the 80s or something. Not a single one of those players will get into that England squad, and I think that's quite a positive thing because normally international break is a time where your team gets disbanded and they get informed to play a different type of football. I think it'd be good for Amorim to sort of keep the team in one place, and I think it'd be better as well once that window shuts on Monday because he'll know, right, this is exactly who I've got. There's no more excuses because we need to stop doing this like where we could bring this in, we could bring that in, because this is what happens when the window's still open. When that's shut, it's very much right, here's what I've got to work with. And when you're talking about his system, I can understand he's coming with a system. I can understand United have brought him in because of this system, but if a game at Grimsby isn't going very well, you have to sort of change that formation up, because I feel like we're playing a 3-back and we're two. I just find it very, very frustrating to watch at time. And I know the stats. I know a lot of people like looking at the stats. I don't really fancy looking at stats because it's dismal. When you're looking at like how many touches we've had in the box, it takes a striker 2 touches to score a goal. But it's one of these things when the damning stat is we can't score at the moment. And once United start scoring, I feel like there'll be a little bit more optimism. Hopefully Turf Moor will get an 8-2 win like we had against Arsenal way back when. But I think I think when that window shuts on Monday, and whether we've got the bomb squads or not, I think Amorim will know pretty much all the cards he's been dealt with, and he's got to make a move, because otherwise I think either he or some other players will be making moves elsewhere.
I mean, Phil Jones said after the game was not about tactics, it was about intent and character. And I think that is right, and you could turn around and say this is now the classic situation of football today where, teams don't self-manage. They don't self-lead. They're so used to systems and formulas, and they go out like robots and they cannot react. There's no passion. There's no leadership. Nobody takes the game by the scruff of the neck, But you can't. I actually think Harry Maguire actually does, but but you can't say that when you look at that starting 11. I just Well, I think where we're coming to on this, Harry, is you and I don't want this to be the end of the manager. I mean, I think we as much as you could interpret some of the things he's saying and the dreaded international window and the backdrop of United's ownership, I I hope that it isn't the end for him personally.
No.
Although I think he's put himself under significant pressure, and I don't think his body language and I don't think his communication helps at times. You know, I thought his communication was much better than Eric Ten Hag's, but at the moment it's leaving too much open to interpretation, translation. Um, and again, well done, Grimsby. Yeah, it should not be taken away just how well they played the game. But oh my goodness,
The best team won on the night, and I don't know if it's because it was no disrespect to Grimsby, but it was getting on a coach to drive up to the North Coast rather than going to the shiny Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or travelling off somewhere fancy in Europe. I don't know if that played some part in it. Think as though it's a lower brass competition, but regardless of what competition you're in, as Manchester United, you're not going in as favourites. We're not quite that. A couple of years ago, it was that. But you're going in thinking this should be drama free. Maybe when we start getting into the big guns in the quarterfinals, but not even being able to get out of the second round. I think humiliation, embarrassment. You could think. I feel like I'm back in primary school with all these wow words, but it's just wow, man. Like this is Manchester United we're talking about. I was watching this, and when it went 2-0 up, and it just said grim. MUN, it was that just sums up the night because we are absolutely grim at the moment.
And go ahead.
Can I just add something really quick? You obviously mentioned about having it being sort of like a lower ranked side in the competition. Maybe that plays on your mind a little bit. But would you have said last night that United would have strolled into that game thinking, "Oh, they're a League Two side, we can beat these"? But I read last night that I think that's only the second time in a few years you've appeared in the second round. The last time you played in that second round, you were beaten pretty embarrassingly by MK Dons.
Yes.
But I don't know what you think of this. This is the first time that Manchester United have ever been beaten by a fourth tier side in this competition. That's never happened before. Would you have said your players walked into it thinking, "Oh, we're going to win. We're a Premier League side. We've got to win"?
No, but I think they walked in thinking, right, this is cup competition. We're going to have changes because there'll be like a load of handshakes, a load of discussions behind the scene. All right, you didn't play on Sunday. We'll give you a run out at Grimsby. That sort of thing. Just sort of having that changing, which I think was good. That Sesko was able to get some minutes on him, but he didn't look. It's let's just say the football league pyramid in this country. It's difficult league, regardless if you're in the Premier League, Championship, or down in League Two. So I think he got a bit of a shock in the system. But I think as United, you're going in thinking, we don't want an embarrassment. That's always going to be playing on your mind because you think about giant killings. As OT fans, we know all too well. Yeah. It's great. It's great when you're inflicting those giant killings. When it's inflicted on you, it's just hanging your head in shame, really. So you obviously you're going to have some form of not cockiness, but sort of like bravado because you're Manchester United. The name says a lot, but I think it's one of every game, especially when your squad isn't performing, you've got to view it as a cup final. You just have to, and especially in a cup competition, if you lose, you're out. It's not like we can go again next Saturday.
I think it's very natural that, or I think it's very understandable that if you go in there as a Premiership side, that you should be able to have a confidence that almost intimidates the opposition players to a degree. They should be intimidated when they see your starting 11. They're not anymore.
Weren't the majority of them Grimsby players United fans last night as well?
Yeah. The
goal scorer was.
Goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper, sorry. And I have to say, it was so funny. He almost was apologizing for putting on such a great display.
And also, the goal scorer of the second for Grimsby, that I think it's Warren, he was released from your academy. He was an academy graduate of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll put all my emotion and my biasness to one side. this is why we do love football. It throws up stuff like this. I mean, and and all the little stories and the links to Grimsby and the fish and chips and all that, and we got battered and everything else. That is why we love football. I just don't like it happening to my team at the
Of
moment.
course, I think if I'm honest, I'm glad that it happened at Blundell Park, because if that had happened at Old Trafford, half of it wouldn't have been filled because it's a cup game, so you wouldn't need to be a member to get a ticket, and it would have been. It just would have been it's same old Manchester United of old. But the fact that it's happened at Grimsby, and they were able to, all the home fans able to enjoy that, removing all the bias. Very happy for them. It's what you love to see. Imagine it happened at the J Davis's Stadium, having it full, the limbs, it would be unbelievable. So it's a great night for them. And also, I hope that long coach journey ride, or if you got the Transpennine Express train back from Cleethorpes, if it was running, they were all having a lot of soul searching, because I know it's a long way to Grimsby and back, and we talk about a cold rainy night in Stoke. I think for Manchester United fans, it's a cold rainy night in Grimsby. It's quite grim up north, and it's quite grim when the pressure's applied.
Do you know what I would love, Terry? I'd love to have heard a story where on the way back on the coach, Amron turns around and says, "Boys, we're not going home tonight. We're gonna go and we're gonna work this through. We're gonna go and stop off at that hotel. We're gonna go to the pub, and we're all gonna have a bit of a session. And we're all gonna have a talking." And they don't get to go home, and they have to stay in a 3-star hotel and share rooms together, and actually. And the first thing in the morning is he has a bunch of fans there over breakfast, and they tell him how embarrassing that was.
Yeah.
No, that won't happen. It won't. But
I know it won't.
I would love it to happen.
Well, it was. It's like when Ten Hag made them after that game. He just made them run around the training ground. It didn't really do a lot, but it sent a message, and I feel like Amron needs to start doing that as well.
He does. He absolutely does.
Needs to punish them for what's gone wrong.
Go on, say that again.
Needs to so sort of like you want to say, in a sense, he needs to punish them for what's happened. Wasn't it after 4-0 to Brentford that Ten Hag made them run?
Yes, I
run
believe it
was.
Yeah.
It was the second or third game in the season, wasn't it? But he also has to come back and explain what he means by. I felt my players spoke really loudly today. What they want. Well, if he's saying they spoke loudly and what they want, it seems like most of them want to transfer, or most of them don't want to play football, or most of them don't want to play for Manchester United. He's got to come back and talk about that. But anyway, I the stats are damning. He's played more games than he's won points in the league. That's not a great thing,
Yeah.
42 points last season was the worst in our Premier League history. And we only scored 44 goals. Obviously, we've been looking to improve that. But it's.
If I may, it's I know when you get, it's not quite evolved, and you used to get all your fixtures printed in the paper or whatever, and you used to put it up on your wall and start ticking them off. I'm just looking at this fixture list, and it's trying to say, the Grimsby Town game has come at a good time. Now that we've lost, it's come at the worst possible time, because we've obviously got Burnley on the weekend, then we've got the international break, and then we've got the games, got the derby on the 14th. Got Chelsea at home on the 20th. Then we've got Brentford on the 27th. And then October comes, you think, it'd be a bit easier. Got Sunderland, who are looking like quite a good side. And then we've got Liverpool on the 19th. And then you're getting into November, and it's Forest, Tottenham, Everton, and Palace. And I'm looking at all of these games, and normally I'd be thinking, like, win there, might scrape a draw there. I'm looking at every single one. I'm just thinking, how damaging could the scoreline be? And it's one of these things where I think for me the confidence has gone. I think the confidence went in the school playground when City scored in the last minute with Kun Aguero in 2013. I think that's when the confidence really dipped for me. But I don't know, as a United fan, especially when it went to penalties, I didn't feel confident. And I don't feel confident looking at this fixture list. I don't feel confident for the manager because of all this applied pressure. And I think we need I don't know how it needs to happen. I don't think it's with a new manager or anything else. We just need to find that confidence again, and that ability to be able to play a drama-free game of football.
Well, I think there's 5 days left in the transfer window. I think maybe four. We've got our game against Burnley at 3 o'clock at home. Now you turn around and say that's. I'm not going to say it's a good opportunity because we said that about the game last night. Flip me, I'm putting that to one side, but yeah. I think we need a keeper, you know,
Yeah.
and we've got to focus on that. There's a number of players I think that possibly should be rested, but at the same time, you might turn around and say, well, they should prove themselves. The game against Burnley is huge. If they go down, if they go behind, I think the crowd will turn on them. Personally,
Hmm.
that won't be. It'll be interesting to see. I don't even know how I'll react at the moment. I've lost my faith, but we got to get a goalkeeper in, and this is not laying the blame on Onana, but we need to improve we need to solidify our defensive pairings. Our defensive unit needs to be better because then we can build on that.
I was
Can I,
with the goalkeeper. I was just going to quickly interject, and I was just looking at the betting odds for it, and it says for each goalkeeper on the weekend to make 6 saves, the odds are 400 to 1, and I think that says quite a lot about Manchester United's goalkeeping ability. The fact we can't make any saves, and we haven't really got a threat going forward. If it's 400 to 1 to have just 6 saves against Burnley, it's I think the goalkeeper we've been saying, oh, he's inbound from Antwerp. He needs to be on that plane right now. As soon as we went 1-0 down on Grimsby Town, I think the phone call should have been made to say, right, get on that plane and get yourself in Manchester for that medical because it's been, what, 3 games now? Four goalkeeping mistakes. I think you need to nip it in the bud and get it sorted ASAP.
can I just add something on the keeper situation really quick? So obviously you mentioned that you've had two goalkeepers and that's two mistakes in the last couple of games. The second goal last night, I will say, was an absolute howler. He's just run out to punch it, hasn't he? It's just gone it's
Oh,
gone straight through his gloves, hasn't it? It's like
yeah.
he's got concrete in his boots or something. Just comes out to punch it, completely missed it. With him, he seemed to have a turning point in the penalty shootout. He had the one penalty that he did save was a brilliant save. It was a really good penalty save. But what was the thing that gets me is how many saves could he have made in that penalty shootout? Because it seemed for I think it was three, four, five penalties, he got something on him, but he just
More
couldn't keep it out.
He's
more
not
than that.
strong enough. It was almost they went down the middle and he kept an arm out,
Yeah,
but it wasn't strong enough to
he
palm
just
it
couldn't keep
away.
it out.
No.
It's for an Arna, if he just made 1 or 2 saves, I think there wouldn't be as much pressure on him at the moment. I know I'm not. I'm not for an Arna. I think he was a mistake. I think we should just cash in. I don't think Bayern Deer is the goalkeeper either. I think he's a good cup goalkeeper, but he's not the number one. I still think Bayern Deer would have had a better performance there. But even if he just saved 1 or 2, I think United fans would have gone, okay, it wasn't all down to the goalkeeper. But the fact that we went all the way through the players, all the way round it, and then back again, I think it says a lot. I know clubs practice penalties so much, but the fact he got contact on, as you a countless number of them, he just keeps applying pressure to himself. And I feel like the only way you can solve this is get another goalkeeper in whilst we
Yeah,
can, rather than thinking, oh, we'll wait till Christmas, see how many goals we concede, and go, maybe we
and
should
then
have brought
get
that
one.
goalkeeper. It's
It
just
it
do it, just do it
it
now.
Do it
it
now.
appeared last night he was better at taking penalties than he was saving them.
I
I'll give
know,
him his
I
credit. It was a
know.
good penalty.
Yeah, it was a
Just
good penalty.
just
Uh,
another thing on the penalties, really quick. So, Harry, you mentioned that you obviously had like all 11 penalties and then it went round. You have, is it Benjamin Sheshko? Is that how you say
Hmm.
it?
Yeah.
He's your striker. Why was he the 10th penalty taker? Why did he not take the deciding penalty that Cunha missed?
Good question. And why didn't he take it earlier in the rounds? You
Because it
know?
seemed like Delict, Dallo, and every other defender seemed to have taken one before the striker, and to me that
Yeah.
doesn't make much sense.
Doesn't make
Do you
any
reckon?
sense to me.
Do you reckon it was a case of it's it's maybe protection? I don't know, but like Cunha, he didn't take a lot of penalties at Wolves either,
No.
and there was it's well, I suppose the issue you've got is when you've got one sole penalty taker, which has always been Bruno Fernandes. When it comes to a time when other people have to take it, there's question marks. But as a striker,
You
realistic
want to be
because it was
taking
it.
that.
You want to be taking it, and you don't want to be like taking it for the glory. I remember I think it was, I can't remember when it was, but Ronaldo was trying to get the take the. He always used to like taking the match winning penalty. It wasn't even that. It's yeah. I think there's an awful lot of question marks around that game, and I think as well. Sesko, he was great seeing him in the squad, but he had no service.
No service.
Pretty much no service
No.
whatsoever. And this is what we were saying about Hoyland. All last season, we were saying he's a good player, but he wasn't getting the delivery, he wasn't getting the service. We've got these two number 10s in now, who, when they were both on, they look pretty good. I'm not saying Cunha didn't have his best game, and I want to just make sure that we're not just applying pressure onto these new players like they're going to be the messiah and solve everything. But you've got to be giving the ball into your striker. You look at Haaland at City; he has so few touches because they've been drilled to say you put the ball into Haaland's path, and have one touch, bang, and it's in. But with the moment, it's like we're trying to either go for the sublime or trying to literally run the ball into the net itself. And
One thing I've noticed this season and a bit of last season is that often when we're going forward and getting into the box, there's not enough options in the box, people running into the box.
mm-hmm.
And I know that at times we criticize Ten Hag for changing the structure, the model, the formation too much, but I almost feel that Ruben has been told stick with your way of playing, but sometimes you've got to make some changes. We've lost that width. We've lost that putting balls into the box. And if you've got three forward players, likes of Sesko, the likes of the two as we signed, surely you need to get a bit more service into the box. We're not able to change it up. We're not. I don't see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do not see any change of formation. We're just doing the same things the same way all the way through the 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Would you say the issue then is to do with the wing backs? Because that's obviously the system he likes to play. You've got Ahmed on the right when he comes on. What didn't have his best game by
No,
any stretch of the imagination. But then who have you got? Who have you got on the left? Dorgu, he's got his pacey going forward, but he likes to chop in. But then his delivery into the box isn't great. And it's who else? Who else do we have? It's again, it's question marks around this system, but sort of you've made your bed, you've got to lie in it. We brought the manager in for this system.
And that's the point, is that I think we're being a little bit too rigid in some ways, but at the same time we wanted to move to the system, and at times I've liked it. I liked it the against Arsenal, even though we lost, but when you're playing in that environment against that team, sometimes you need to be able to adjust things and change it up. And it's not just changing one or two players, changing the approach. And I there's so much, but I think, I definitely think there's an old fan, new fan thing going on at United. I mean, me and my son just do not see eye to eye when it comes to the football anymore. I'm not for the manager out at the moment, but he's not necessarily even on board time. But I think he needs to think a little bit about being a little bit more adaptable.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what? Do you know what I think he needs to be? And pardon the French, but he needs to be ballsy. It's what he's got to be. He's got to be ballsy in that dressing room. He's got to tell the players what it is, saying it's because it's not just his job on the line. I sort of feel like that's one thing we often forget, is that the most disposable commodity is the manager, not the players. And I think he's just got to turn to them and just say, you've got to go out there, have a go, and just, because all the fans would not. If you look at the Arsenal game, we lost that game, but everybody came away with positivity because it felt we're running, we're working hard off the ball, we're getting opportunities. It doesn't matter. Obviously, it matters in the league table when in terms of points, but going away, we felt like that team had some bravado and a bit of ballsiness to it. Whereas we gone to Grimsby and it's just like it's all just disappeared at the wayside. I think he needs to sort of say, not getting cocky, but he needs that sort of. I think we need sort of like that sort of cocky player in that squad where we're not complaining every 5 minutes. We're saying a bit like a Keane-esque sort of player who will take the stick for the squad. It just feels like we don't have that with Bruno. I don't know if the captaincy is an issue, if that needs to change again, but we just need to sort of say, look, we all know we're on a position of transition. We just need to say, look, we've got to stick with this thing and just see what happens. And I think one thing we've got to sort of appreciate as well is the fans who went to that game and the fans who've been going week in, week out, and this transitional period, they're still singing the club's name, still singing the manager's name, still singing the players' name. They're still optimistic in this Manchester United Football Club. The fact that this Project 21, it still seems like it's a long way away, but that optimism, we need to get that back. The fans have it, who go every week, but we need to have that in the players and crucially every other Manchester United fan, because I would rather trade jokes for optimism or optimism for points at the moment, because I just want to feel that things are slowly starting to come together, and I'm hoping that this is the kick up the backside that we needed, both on the pitch and off the pitch, to sort of book up our ideas and get ready. Because 14th of September, 4:30, Manchester City, they look good, and they could really inflict a hammer blow to this United squad, possibly even the manager as well.
I think I'll be getting my tin hat on for that one. Right, I need to go, guys. Spur thought, though, he's not the only manager under pressure. Rangers manager Russell Martin, 9-1 aggregate defeat in the Champions League playoff. So there you go.
Was it 6-0?
6-0 last night. So
he went down to 10 men as well pretty early on.
Right, I need to go. That's been the extra reactionary Theaters of Dreams podcast. We will be back as usual next week.
Hopefully it's the last one we'll have to do for a while. Hopefully it'll be extra. Manchester United can start winning again, but maybe at Burnley. Not so sure about the derby, but one step at a time.